Hey everyone. For those that don't know me, all I can say is welcome. I hang out on Twitter, Mastodon, Discord, and now TikTok. I'm an obvious Stannis Baratheon and Davos fan, so there's that. I'm in the Communist Party USA and organize with others. And overall, I wish to do these videos to practice my videography and creativity. So yeah, with that out of the way, let's get to it. If you had trouble processing or understanding Das Kapital that well, then this book is probably for you. You'll find that the section titles are clear and concise, with such sections pertaining to quote-unquote money as a store of value or quote-unquote money as capital. From the text on page 38, it says, the starting point for the capitalist process of production is the accumulation of values in money form. That line right there is why I love this book, and it's why I may revisit it later to better understand Marxist political economy, at least in terms of the fundamentals. There are also illuminating parts of the book that talk somewhat about the times that this book was written in. On page 71, under the section entitled The Living Standards of the Workers, there is a segment of John Eaton quoting the Times regarding the plight of the African proletariat. I quote, the following extracts from the Times illustrate this and other facts about the conditions of the proletariat in Africa at the time. Formerly, the low productivity of African labor was tolerated because it was cheap and abundant. Natural idleness was checked by physical compulsion. Now development reaches a point where it cannot progress without greater individual effort. Most Europeans have for centuries embraced a religious code which condemned idleness as wicked. His cults and taboos have more frequently taught Africans that work is degrading or evil. His universal attachment to the land removes his threat of want if he is prepared to live at a low level of subsistence. Simplicity of needs, together with shortage of consumer goods, robs money wages of their value. Nobody can deny the ugly aspects of mass employment of natives in plantation industry and mine. However, the African population of 160 millions, by greater effort, can produce surpluses which will raise its own standards and minister to the needs of others. The problem, therefore, is how to improve the output of the individual native. In the next page, the book goes on to say that workers in the imperial core countries have a better standard of living on average than those in the periphery nations, though words like periphery are not used. This is in part due to the strong labor union movements and gains by workers, but it is also true that the imperial core countries do indeed leech more resources from African countries as well as other countries from far away. I brought up that quote also because it reminds me of the writings of W. Alpheus Hunton in The Cancer of Colonialism and Decision in Africa, Sources of Conflict, a work that predated Walter Rodney's own work on the subject matter of European colonialism in Africa. I would highly recommend his work. W. Alpheus Hunton was in many ways the prodigy of W.E.B. Du Bois, and was picked by Du Bois to head the Encyclopedia Africana project in Ghana, while Kwame Nkrumah was still head of state of that country. Long story short, there was a CIA coup in Ghana, and all of the hard work that W. Alpheus Hunton and the team surrounding him did to craft that tome or book was destroyed after the CIA coup. Keep in mind that during the late 50s and early 60s, when this book by John Eaton was published, there was a growing consciousness regarding colonialism and later neo-colonialism, particularly in places such as Africa. The conference in Bandung would underscore and I think heighten this growing consciousness in the West of the so-called third world countries, quote-unquote, and countries and how colonialism undermined their development and harmed them. As we pass the halfway point of the book itself gets more technical, particularly when it starts talking about fixed capital and circulating capital. Fixed capital refers to the machinery, architecture, etc. that lasts beyond one batch of production by the company or corporation. Circulating capital are the raw materials, such as steel, like you would see in an Age of Empires game where you say you need to chop down wood and increase how much you have to build something. That's how I think of it anyway. Other terms, such as constant capital, which is what the capitalist owns for production, and variable capital, which is the labor power that he rents for wages, are gone into. Admittedly, I started having trouble with relative and absolute surplus value, so the trouble began from page 87 onward, though I sort of understood those terms. Admittedly, I rushed through several parts, particularly on the last one-third of the book, when much of the discussion the book revolved around much more minute and complicated topics. Of course, I recognized the discussion on imperialism at the end, and I welcomed it, and would urge others to read this book to read that for yourself. As I won't talk about everything for the sake of brevity, I will say that this is probably the best elaboration on Marxist political economy and technical terms that I've read yet, but I would recommend a book like the second edition of The Fundamentals of Marxism-Leninism by Otto Willy Kuusinen, published in the early 1960s, which I'm reading right now, if you want the more philosophical and, well, fundamentals of Marxism-Leninism. I will have to say though, Marxist Political Economy by John Eaton is great for understanding Das Kapital and the terms therein. Overall, I made this video with the aim of helping to popularize the book and maybe support international publishers, essentially the publishing arm of the CPUSA, since I think many Marxist books should be bought directly from Marxist publishers. There are a few out there that I know about, such as Left Work Books by Vijay Prasad and Janut International Publishers, not to be confused with the international publishers based in the United States by the CPUSA. There is also Iskra Books and Luna Oi's recent publishing press as well. I don't intend to make these videos more than 5 minutes long, though maybe I made the script too large for that, but let that be known. Do consider donating to my Patreon as well to support me, as I plan to do this a lot. I love making videos. TikTok seems like a good opportunity to do just that. I used to make them in the past before I deleted them all, but the past is the past. I hope you all will leave comments down below and get others to watch my videos. Did you read Marxist Political Economy by John Eaton? What were your favorite parts or the ones you found most informative? Thanks in advance, and good luck to you all.